Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Let me turn this down a little bit more. And let me just mute this so we don't get the echo. Perfect. Right, thank you for joining this afternoon. Hopefully it will work well. I do hope that the screen is the right way around, because what behind me is says it shows us in reverse, but the other one is fine. So we'll see how it goes. But thank you for joining me. So this is something I'm trying to do more regularly. I have tried this on Twitch and other sites, but this is the only one that seems to get a reasonably stable stream. So I'm going to stick with YouTube for now, and then I'll probably upload this on Twitch just to try until I can get my studios to work properly. And hopefully we'll have an enjoyable stream. So just to recap, let me just put this to one side for a moment. Hope you like the logo. That's my old logo. I'm going to re-update that soon, but I'm currently working on that. Maybe at the end of the stream I'll show you where I've got with that. Okay, so anyone that was watching last week knows that I was redrawing this particular some pieces of work to this Jazza competition was back in 2016. Largely, a reason why I was doing this is one, because when the competition came through, we only usually had about 3.5, 4 weeks, depending on the size of the month and when the deadline was done, and on top of that, when he actually announced it. There's a few occasions when he announced it quite late, so you had about 3 weeks to do it. And when you're working full time, doing commission work and other things like that, not a lot of time to do it. So I had a bit of a rush on it, and I had a different computer then as well, so I didn't have as powerful a machine as I have at the moment. But hopefully that will change going forwards. But anyway, so now that I've got more time and I can just relax and get on with it, I started to redraw some of these competition pieces. Once I've done all these, I'm going to go back to his very first one and start doing those as challenges. I think they're quite fun to do. So just to recap, this was a competition called Mix and Match, and the idea was that you had 3 different characters. In this case, a hairy professor that loves to draw, who's wielding fire, a murderer that is secretive, who has bug eyes, bulging, and an orcish wizard that is on fire, who has an impressive moustache beard combo. And then the second part of this was the environment, which was environment 1 was a princess's bedroom that was burned down and features a conference room. Environment 2, a green clean park that is floating in space and features an alien race. And environment 3, the giant maze that is extremely windy and features a demonic altar. So these are the options. And the ones I went for environment 2, and I went for character 2 as well. But basically, you could choose one character, one scenario, but you have to stick to that parameters. So off the back of that, I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to give you a brief, very, very brief overview for those who are watching for the first time. These are some of the concepts that I had for this piece. If you want to see all of these, if you go to the previous video, which I will link when the video is finished and live and everything else, I will link to the original so that you can kind of see the first one, and I'll go through all of these. But I'm only going to go through the initial characters that I was working on last week. So this was the original concept of some of it, and this was the actual main character. And it was actually based on Jazza himself. So the idea being this was Jazza being the murderous character, villain or whatever. Although I just realised one thing, I forgot to add his iconic hair. So maybe when I paint it, if I remember to do that, I'll add that on. So this is the idea. So these are a couple of the original concepts. This was the concept I really, 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 really wanted. This was my first idea, first concept, but I just couldn't get the pose the way I wanted it to sound. Let me turn this down a little bit more. I feel like it's drowning me out a bit. There's the little volume. I'm down that. Oh, it's just very, very faint. Yeah, so this is the concept I really wanted, but I couldn't quite get it the way I wanted. And with the time that was awarded to me, I didn't want to spend so much time getting him right, and then the rest of the scene was on the wayside. Although, in hindsight, I did put too much detail in, and I've had to learn to kind of be a bit more succinct with my artwork. And then this is sort of a second version of him that was less complicated, but not ideal, wasn't perfect. But these are just concepts. These aren't finished drawings. I then went to upgrade him to this one, which gave him a bit more of an evil look. And I like the look and the blade, and I've kind of used that on the final concept. I did have one more bash after the competition at getting him, and I do like aspects of this. I love the fact that the gravestone is coming out and around. That's, you know, and everything else. But again, the proportion was right. I mean, the leg there, for example, is just not there. But this did give me a sort of a basis for this. So I came up with the police things here. So in the last version, which is the one I actually used for the competition, this was the concept. So you've got him running with his knife, two policemen chasing him, and in the final piece, which I think you'll see in the cover once I've finished, you'll see beams of light coming down on each side of the character. So that was sort of where that was going. And then last week, this was the new version. Now, although I still feel like I could still do better, I still feel like I could do this better, this is far more closer to what I was trying to achieve on the first piece. So I'm happy with that. I do need to thicken the lines a bit before I start painting it and things like that. And I might just redraw the gravestone or use the previous one, the one that's sort of angled down, to see if it will work better, but we'll see what happens. The second character we worked on last week, or I worked on last week, I should say, was the policeman. Now, it's not this particular policeman, he's actually one of the pilots, but this was sort of the basic idea of the character. And I do like these alien races, I do like the design I've come up with them, because they're not your typical aliens. And this is a close-up of the pilot in the Interceptor, those UFOs that you saw. And I just realised I'm talking very fast. I apologise if I'm talking too fast. But then there was this character. Now, this was a character I wanted to put in the piece, but I just couldn't get the pose right. I couldn't get the pose looking the way I wanted it to look. So I believe in the end I didn't put him into the picture, but I really, really wanted to incorporate him. Because I wanted him to be sort of just behind the character, like he was just there, he's close by. And I even had incorporated little sirens on the side of his uniform. So from that, I did try to redraw it a little while after, a bit human, and the construction was a little better, but again, still not really, I still wasn't completely satisfied. I mean, this leg, for example, is definitely off. Everything else I think is relatively okay. But this leg, just couldn't get this leg right. But that was down to just really still struggling with my anatomy, but I do feel like I'm getting closer to getting that anatomy on point. But it's still a work in progress. And then last week, we come up with this one. And this one, if we go back to the first one a second, just to give an example, where's the first one? This was the pose I was looking for, and that was the final result. And hopefully, you know, I'm sure you can see, let me put the other around so it's got more light on it. And hopefully you can see that it looks a bit more, in fact, let me try and get the light a little bit. There we go, so you can see it properly. So hopefully you can see that this one looks a lot more dynamic, a lot more in proportion. Still areas I need to work on, but in terms of the construction generally, you know, if you look at I'll put it at the bottom there. The general construction of this is I'm satisfied with it. I feel like for this piece, for what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick with this one, and then maybe next time, I'm not going to draw this picture again after today, after I've done the competition piece, but that pose may be for another character later on. So that's that one done. So put in these ones, there's the other one. So there's the three different versions there. So you can see like each time there's a slight improvement in terms of the posture and proportion and things like that. So that's that. But today, I thought we would go for one of the Interceptor police, which is the one I showed you a bit earlier. So let's come back. So this is the character I want to start working on today. but I want to get the proportions right, because while I like the pose and everything else, I did feel that because my anatomy was still lacking at the time, I didn't quite get this character spot on. So that's what I'm going to work on. So I'm going to put this up the top here and grab some fresh paper, and we will see if we can make him look good. I think in terms of characters, this is the last character we'll be doing. Actually, no, tell a lie. There's one more character I want to do. So depending on how quickly I do him today, I may do that other character, but I'll think about that when I get to it. But for that character, I will need a little bit of reference. Okay, right. So anyway, let's get on with it. So, how's everybody doing, by the way? I hope everybody's having a good weekend. Mine was a bit manic. Things were going wrong. Technology was not working the way it should be. Went to the cafe. They didn't have a sausage rolls, which is the thing I love to eat in that particular store. Oh, can't use that one. There was a woman in there that had clearly stolen food and was just eating without paying for it, and she was being escorted out of the building. So and then I left my glasses in the cafe and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a challenging day, to say the least. That said, you know, I'm home safe. I managed to make it home safe, so I can't really argue with that. And one other thing I need is an eraser, which I put away in my little bag. So let me go and find that. There we go. Hashtag not sponsored. Right. If you are watching and you want to join in the chat, do feel free to ask questions. Now I tend to get kind of focused on what I'm doing, so if I don't see your question straight away, don't think I've ignored you. I will do my best to try and continue with the to chat and everything else. But let's get going. Right. So the first thing I need to do is just get a basic idea where it's going to go. Now, here's what the challenges with these sort of pictures. Again, this just reminds you is when I draw normally, I normally draw the face and then I fit the body around it. And then what happens is I end up going off the page, and then in my head I have to kind of remember how far does the arm come out before it comes down here, which is not good practice to do. It's better that I get the body in and fit the head to the right size, because I can always blow it up. And it's little things like that I need to start. I'm starting to learn and get better at. So that's what we're going to do. So now he's going to have. So first of all, we're going to have some sort of steering wheel sort of around about here. So I want to kind of place this so I've got some point of reference as to where he's going to be holding stuff. Now you probably won't see nothing just yet because it's very, very light at the minute, but it will show. If you watched last week, you'll see it comes in. And at this point, I'm just boxing everything in. So I've got some kind of idea where everything's more or less going to go. So these are these little fists. Okay, so and then behind these fists, you've got your arms. Or the bottom half, this half of the arm. I find the shape of a button-up squash is probably the right shape for the actual arms. Now the proportion is off, but I'm just going to get the basic idea there. And we'll come back to more proper construction in a bit. This is just to get the concept there. Okay, so that's the biceps or whatever you call it. And then you've got the shoulders, so up here. Right, and then the head. And in his case, the head is really rough front in your face. No pun intended. Okay, so that's roughly where everything's going to go. So I'm going to put a line in the middle. Everyone's got their own method. This might not be the agreed method to do this, but as I said, this is just to get. I'm just to clarify, that what I'm trying to do is, rather than trying to squash it in like I did with this one, I want to try and gauge roughly how much room I've got to manoeuvre. So that's really why I've done this. So I can see, right, I've got a bit more space to move the arms. So if I get the head in the right place, I can hopefully put the arms in the right spot. And I have to remember he's got a hat as well, so I've got to keep that in mind. He's going to have a hat here somewhere. I've got to just keep that in mind of the character. So we've got one little circle up here, in the top part of his head. So I don't know how much you can see just yet. But hopefully it won't be too long before you can see something. Yeah, I was watching season 5 of Arrow recently. Really good season, actually. Really, really good season. I think it's one of the best since the Slade Wilson season, which I think was 3, I believe. Yeah, I'm sure it's 3. Could be wrong. It's the best season so far, in my opinion. 4 was okay, but 3 definitely felt more more on point for me. So trying to get the head shape in there. As I said, you can see I'm drawing this a lot smaller, but the purpose being is that I can fit the arms in a bit more. So that's going to be the back of his shoulder there. And then his arms are going to be out here somewhere. Because the idea being that he's hunched up, like, really, I'm going to get you, is what I'm going for. That's sort of the posture. Now, I'm not quite sure how quickly I'm going to get to do this, but we'll see what happens. Right, so his eyes are going to be down here on this one. Again, I'm only putting things in. I'm not doing any detailing at this stage. It's just too early for detailing. So his hat's going to be more of an angle on this one, which is kind of good. Right, so I think I need to make his shoulders just a bit higher up. And so what I'm really trying to do is I'm just trying to get him so he's got really hunched shoulders. If you'd seen the way I drew this in the first place, the method I'm using right now is completely different. I mean, it's not completely different, it's slightly different, but it's completely different in the sense that I'm not just trying to draw the face and then draw the arms. I'm actually trying to work out the shapes where they all go first, make sure they work before I add detail in. If that makes sense. Probably doesn't make sense, but feels that arm there feels okay. This one on the other side doesn't, struggling a bit. Try and get it looking the way I want it. Always one side, that's always the hardest part. You're trying to match that with that one, effectively. If it comes to it, when I Photoshop it, I'll just cut this and put it on the other side, but not really what I want to do. I don't really want to do that one. It's better if I can learn how to do it properly. Now, this is where it gets particularly challenging, because one of these so-called foreshortening, and what that is it basically, if you look at your hand, like if you put your hand like that, that's not foreshortening. But if the hand's facing you, that's foreshortening, because you're seeing less of the hand because you're seeing it at an angle. That's the simplest way to explain it. Simple way I can think to explain it. I'm not an expert at that sort of thing. But that's the way I understand it. Again, just being very, very loose. The reason I have to be very loose is because if it doesn't look right, I have to move it somewhere and move the positioning and stuff like that. One thing I have been finding though, since I've been sort of really learning how to draw these things, is I've started to what's the word? The pictures themselves are starting to make their own, start to sort of directly. It's almost like they're speaking to me a bit. It sounds weird, I know, but it's almost like it's telling you what you need to draw it that way. You need to move that there because it will look better there. That sort of things. It's strange, but it does. But sometimes the pictures do sometimes it seem to push you in a particular direction. So here's the chest. And you can see already this is a very different version of the character. I feel like this is just a bit too wide, so I need to bring this in a bit. Or do I? Feels a little better, is that right? Look. Yeah, that seems good. Obviously that's the second part of his chest. He's going to be scrunched up a bit. Now, here's another challenging bit, is his legs. Now, I didn't initially put legs on the original, but I think, if as I can fit it in, I might as well try. It might even make the end result better, because you'll get to see there's more work being put into the character. Yeah. Oh, why's the music stopped? Huh. Okay. Didn't think it'd finish the whole tune there, but now I think now I'm looking at it, I think the legs need to be much higher than I've made them. It's almost like, when you see those Tour de France guys riding the bike, where they're holding the handlebars and then right down. That sort of, if you think of it that way, that's the best way to emphasise the pose I'm going for. finishing. It still feels a bit squashed, but I think generally this does feel like what I was looking for. Okay. Not completely satisfied with the legs, to be honest. But not quite working the way I want them to. But I think in my head I've got the right shape there. I think maybe it's just needs to be further down. Try a different angle. Just put the legs in a different position. Hopefully that'll work better. All right, let's go up a level and get the next pencil, which in this case is going to be a 3H. We need some additional light here. Now, I've had a little bit of this, probably a bit too much, to be honest, maybe. But I'm just positioning things. I'm just giving a bit of a gritty looking face. As in he's gritting his teeth. Now I'm noticing, this is just something, because I'm used to drawing one side, is one side seems always more squashed than the other. I think this side needs to be, same as the nose, pushed over a bit. Just extend it a little bit. Try and get this mouth looking suitably angry. I like this eye on this side, but the other eye doesn't quite feel right. I'm trying to work out helping make that eye feel balanced. I know, apparently biologically, your eyes are never completely symmetrical, but I want to at least make it feel like it's, feel like it looks symmetrical. Even if it's not exactly alike. For that a second. I think one of the biggest problems with the eye is not big enough. It needs to match the other side best I can. Easier said than done, I'll tell you that much. It's at times like this sometimes where I get very quiet when I'm really trying to find. As I'm not putting too much emphasis in detail, but it's just trying to get that eye looking like it works. Because if I don't get it right now, when it comes to later on, it'll be too late. Really struggling to get the eye right. Okay, stay on. That's it. Just feels wrong. Just doesn't feel right. Better. It's not. It's just not completely. It's not completely there yet. No. Okay. No, it's got more rounded than I've given him. I've given him 2 points of chin. Okay. And again, I want to incorporate this part of the cheeks where the cheeks stand out a bit. So I'm going to do that. Yeah, going back to Arrow season 5. I like it. It's a good episode because they're introducing some additional heroes without. Hopefully, this isn't a spoiler. If you haven't seen it already. Although to be fair, I'm a bit behind on my Arrow anyway. So I think it's on season 7. I think now. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's a bit further than season 5 anyway. So I'm a little behind on it, but yeah, they've introduced a few additional, new villains and new heroes as well. And the villains in this season are actually really good. And now and I'm not going to say this because I don't want to spoil it, but there is even a well-known action hero that turns up in this season as well. And that was a nice, pleasant surprise. And good for him. Good for him. Anyone that's seen season 5 probably knows what I'm talking about. But it does show though that the guy does have, the guy can act. He does have proper, does have good acting ability. He may not be Oscar, well maybe he will be. Maybe one day he will do. Who knows? But he may not necessarily win an Oscar for his role in this, but definitely it shows that the guy can act. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if you can see. Can you see that? You probably can't see that very clearly. There you go. Now compare that to the previous version. Even that alone, that face alone. Sorry, I'm trying to get them right. That face alone looks better, if you ask me. So I'm already really encouraged by this one. And I haven't even put all the uniform and stuff on that one. This is just the bodywork. This is just getting the positioning right. In fact, I might have to scan this in before I do the next bit. But with that in mind, hopefully you can see that it just shows that when you work at it, you can get your anatomy a lot. You can do anatomy better if you put your mind to it. And I've just been learning so much about anatomy and shapes and stuff like that. Because one of the things, I'll be honest with you, is that I've always found daunting, especially when you're looking at, like, say, a muscle-bound fella. Normally they have all these different muscles and different details, and it's easy to spot all the different detail elements in a character. It's always easy to spot all these different aspects, and you can get bogged down. I know for me, you can get bogged down in detail, but oh gosh, I'm going to put all that detail in. It's a lot of detail, too much. But if you break it down into smaller chunks, it's actually not that bad. You get the general muscle shape. Once you've got used to that, then you can start looking at, well, okay, right, what other muscles next? And then you can add little additional details to them as you go along. Now, the previous policeman, just cutting off on that, he had a little vent on the club in his trousers. So I think it only makes sense to kind of keep that in this one as well, just to keep it uniform. No pun intended, or was it? And you see, now here's an interesting. I was trying to get the legs looking like they're facing forwards. The piece of work, when I did the previous hand, it's now given me, surprisingly, a leg pose, which I wasn't expecting. Which is that. Now, I didn't actually expect that to happen, but that has actually massively helped the piece, which is kind of what I was going for. I was trying to go for that. He's got his knees fairly forwards. It's just different, slightly different angle. I think it works. It may not be perfect, but it works. Well, it seems to work anyway. Just going to make this far one a bit more larger. Just feels a bit thin compared to the other side. Okay, so there's the first hand. I feel like it's definitely coming together. I'm a bit nervous about doing this at first, thinking that is this going to look really good or bad, but I'm starting to really feel like, yeah, we're getting something. But we really are getting somewhere with it. Even to the point where I can even take a better handle for the handle shape for the controls. Yeah, I really like the way this is going. I like how this is coming together. I only wish I could have done this at the time when the competition was there. Even later. Can't win them all. What I'm going to do is have it sort of side bits of where the controls come in, so it's 100 sideways. Well, the noise in the background. House chores. House chores got to be done. You know, when you think about this is coming along, I'm quite surprised at the same time. Because the hardest thing is, it's all very well drawing a man standing still, just facing you, but when you actually got to put them in a pose and you've got a hunched or hunchback or whatever, and you've got the full talking going on, it makes it really difficult. Right now, you can see that this is slightly off, so this track slightly. But this is still pencil line, and I've got to, still work it through, I can still rock it out and push it out. And like this arm needs to be much bigger than I've made it. Right. That noise should now stop. Alright, now comes the tricky bit, the hat. And it's tricky because you've got the visor on it. This is what you've got to remember, that you've got spherical, hats are spherical. Sorry, his head is spherical. So you've got to kind of remember that when you're drawing it. I think his head's not slightly out of shape. So let's try and correct that. The good thing is, because it's pencil, we're on the pencil stage, it's not out of the realms of, not beyond the point of no return. We can still do a little bit. A little more shape. Good. Okay, so now the hat should fit a bit better, or at least the bottom part anyway. Now to make this the peak of the hat, and the rest will go wider. I'm trying to get the visor centralised. And another thing I've noticed is when I do pictures, I've found that I tend to veer to one side. It's only when I look back at pictures I've done in the past and it's like, oh yeah, I have one side, and I'm trying to come away from doing that work if possible. So it's all balanced, so the hat's all balanced and stuff like that. It's going to look like I'm still going over the same old thing over and over again, but it's important to get it right. Because people, subliminally you notice. Okay, that falls more. I think I've got it. Yeah, I believe I've got it now. Now this is the next tricky bit. It's making the top of the hat look like the top of a peaked cap. but we need to come into this bit somehow. Oh, actually, saying that, this one kind of, oh, I wonder if that'll work. So I've just had an idea on this, how I might make this work. It's going against what my natural instinct would say to do, and I'm wondering if it might work. I think this might actually work. I think this might actually do it. By Jove, I think this is working. Is it work? Is it working? What I'm trying to... Actually, no, I'll leave that line in, because there is a little thingy going on there. I think I probably just need to make that a little bit wider. Yeah, I don't know if it is working, but we'll get experimental at the minute. Actually, it might work if I bring the peak bit a bit further up. See, things like this is where it becomes a problem. I think it is actually working, you know. I think it is actually just a few tweaks, and I think it'll be fine. I think this is doing what I think it's, what I'm trying to make it work. Now, if I move this button, I'm not going to move the head bit just yet. Move the cat bit. I leave that head in there still for a bit for reference to make sure it works. Because if it doesn't work, then I've lost all that effort on the head. See, I think when I drew this character, this earlier one, I didn't put the head and drew through it and stuff like that. I just drew it and tried to fit it. Yeah, I think it's getting there. Yeah, I think that's worked. Okay, so now on this character, around here, like a little band he's got that you have in any police hat, you know, police car helmet hat. And I might need the previous guy just to make sure that the shapes and everything else is right. So let me like other policeman I was doing earlier. We're going to put it. Sorry. Right, so this is the one I was doing earlier. This is the policeman I did earlier. In fact, that's you've got it on the edge. haven't got it here, I've got it further up. And then obviously the badge, which is here. Even when I constructed the badge, I didn't draw it the same way as this. Okay, so that's that. And I need another one on his shirt, so same design there. The only difference is it's more of an angle, so. Oh, is the camera moved? This camera wouldn't keep moving. Does have a tendency to move. I do apologise. If it moves, please let me know so I can put it back, because otherwise I won't be able to do what this human doing. Right. All right. So I think I can go the next level up, which is a 2. And we're going to start from the top down. So if you haven't been able to see up to this point, you should start seeing the results of this on this next run. Had an eventful day today. Well, first of all, I had a lot of technical issues, as seems to be the norm these days. Things just weren't quite working the way I wanted them to, and even before I streamed, excuse me, before I started streaming, suddenly the mouse decided to stop working on my Mac, annoyingly. But yeah, it was so I had a few issues getting ready to get out and go to my usual cafe for a little bit of drawing. Left late to start with just things didn't go to plan in terms of getting ready and things like that. And then when I got there, one of the things I like to have is a sausage roll with my coffee. It's like a little mini breakfast, so to speak. And they hadn't got the machines ready. They didn't have the sausage roll. I thought, oh, great. So that was already one thing that wasn't quite ready for me when I got there. And then on top of that, the coffee machine, the actual coffee machine itself, didn't seem to be working. Or I don't think it was so much it wasn't working, but rather they hadn't turned it on, so it hadn't warmed up. And when it warmed up, it wasn't quite functioning correctly. So it just needed whoever knew how to set it up just to really fix that and get the coffee right. So that was another thing. So I spent 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes just getting a coffee, because what I ended up having to do is to pay for the syrup, because I have one of those flavoured lattes, go to the other coffee machine to pour it out, add in some milk and what have you, and then go to my table. So by the time I've done all that, 15 minutes had passed already. But, oh, great. So it's a really good start to the day. And then I wanted to share on my Instagram, what I was doing today, and Facebook, and that wasn't working properly either. That kept mucking around and wouldn't post, wouldn't log properly. So that also wasn't a very good start. Yeah, so it was just constant issues today. And even when I came back, there was like things kept falling and tripping over stuff. Like, what's going on today? What is with today? So it was an interesting been an interesting day. But the saving grace has been this piece is coming along a lot better than I thought it might have. I was just a little worried that it was going to not go the way I was hoping it wanted it to go. So I've got to say, it seems to be working today, which is good. I'm liking how his face feels really mean. There's a lot more of the aggression that I was looking for. I mean, it's good aggression because the aggression was, hey, we're going to catch this guy that's murdering Marvin the Martian from the Warner universe. That took away a bit of the anger element. I want to keep his aggressive face showing. What I like about this character, though, this version compared to the one yesterday, this one looks a bit more alien. Whereas the other guy looks a bit human with a few features that made him look alien-ish. It didn't fully feel like he was the alien that I did in the original artwork. Well, I think after this, the next stage would be adding, adding some clothing detail, uniform and that sort of stuff. It's amazing how much of a difference this character is compared to the previous iteration of this guy. I'm in that concentration mode again. Sorry, guys. So if you're watching for the first time, do feel free to say hi and hello and and ask a question. So if I don't respond straight away, I'm not listening to you. It's just I'm either in concentration mode or I just haven't spotted your message yet. So if I don't reply straight away, just be patient. I will see it. At the moment, there's not that many people on watching, so your message will be seen shortly. So just be patient. But do thank you for joining. Do appreciate you coming on board. this is the thing. When you get to a certain point, you get more confident. You tend to put more detail in, and add in some additional detail into this piece, just to give it a bit more character for when it does. When I do ink it in. Even on this on this whole thing, and a little bit tiny extra detail, it makes all the difference. You know, you might not notice it straight away, but it's one of those things that some artwork, you see the main piece that the person's clearly trying to portray, but if you look closely enough and you observe enough, you end up seeing details that you didn't realise. You go, oh, there's that. Oh, there's that. Oh, look, there's this other piece. I know I certainly found that with one of my Halloween pieces I did last year, where someone was looking at it and they didn't spot the additional characters in the background, but eventually it became a little bit more evident that there was more to the piece than met the eye. They start to see additional aspects of it that they just literally haven't picked up on, and that's the beauty of it. Because now this piece is taking shape, which is brilliant. And while it's not as full in your face as the previous one, it does feel more impacting. But again, I can zoom right in. Excuse me. I can zoom right in on it. I'm trying to make it match the other side a bit more. It's a bit bigger than the other one on the other side. So just adding these little X details. What it does is it just adds a bit more to the artwork. The funny thing is, a lot of this won't get seen in the actual spaceship itself once it's there. But I'm hoping that when you watch the picture, I think if I save a large version of it, because I want to do a large version and a smaller version for for posting online. I want to do a full-size version where you can really zoom in and get a really good close-up. Now this is where I'm talking about muscle. Now I hadn't intended to put these little extra lines of muscle in there. It's only after the fact, but because I've got the basic shape there, I can add these little elements in. And it just adds to the density of the character. You can see your bone there a little bit. Now here, I'm just adding that little element. If you saw on, I'm just picking the aliens here a second. The alien ones. So you see what I'm adding. On here, see all these little grooves? I'm just reflecting that in this particular piece. And if it is just a slightly more I suppose aggressive, I suppose, for want of a better word, of a version. That was what's missing on this side. I figured there was something missing, I couldn't figure out what it was, but now I realise what it was. These are outside. Okay, so there's a little crotchy thingy. Right, now I'm going to get that other policeman so I can use that as a reference. I'll find him now. Where is he hiding? Where's he gone? Oh, right in front of me, silly boy. This is just starting at the uniform matching. See, like here, for example, I forgot that I added stripes from this on the previous guy, so definitely need to add that on this guy. And he's got a bit of a sort of belt strap here, probably where he keeps his weapon. I haven't really decided yet. And because he's in the Interceptor, he doesn't need all the Kevlar that the other officer needs because he's a street cop. Whereas this guy is a pilot, so he'll only ever need it if he has to get out of his vehicle. Okay, so that's that. Now, okay, again on this guy, so I forgot, which is the inner muscle. They're quite muscly aliens. Let's be fair. They're quite muscly aliens. But what's wrong with that? Now, should I do? Is it better to do it this way or the other way? I think that way works actually. That's another thing that's quite tricky. Is when you're drawing like clothing and stuff like that, the edge of the clothing, it's sometimes tricky to know which way around the body it should go. Whereas this one can go the other way. It all comes down to where your eyes are. It's something I hadn't considered in previous images. I think it only makes sense that his emblem is more indicating that he is a flight cop on his shoulder, as opposed to the sergeant on the other outfit. And the only other thing I didn't consider on the other drawing, that's more to do with the fact that there was enough space, is what he's sitting on. Because he's obviously going to be seated. This is where draw through comes into it. I mean, technically, he doesn't need to wear the hat, really, to be fair. Okay, right. What time is it now? It's coming up to 5 o'clock. So we've gone on quite a bit today, which has been good. We're 2/8 now, I think. How long have we been going for now? Does it tell me? Oh, an hour. So we've been an hour, 20 minutes. So what I might do is I'll do this next stage. I'll take a quick 5-minute break, get myself a coffee, and then what I might do is rather than inking this guy in now, I might leave him and ink him another day and start working on the next one. But we'll see how it goes. See how I feel. Because I want to scan him in anyway. Alright. Now these lines are going to be more defined. Because with these ones, I'm going to try and really, really make the picture come alive. Because when I get to the inking in stage, I need to make sure these lines are really clear, so I know where I'm inking. Because up to now, there's a lot of construction lines, but eventually I need to get rid of that. Get rid of those construction lines. I think the peak cap does look the part. So I'm quite pleased with how that's worked out. They're not an easy thing to draw. Got to say, they really are not the best of shapes. But I don't know if you agree, but I think I've nailed it. So that I'm going to even be bold enough and remove the top of his head now. Not too bad actually. Yeah, that's quite decent. So that some of them fire alarms going off. More sensible the eyes than I was earlier. Yeah, the eyes feel a lot better now than they did earlier. I might even give him some alien blemish there. One thing I did forget to do is give him his little ears, like the other guy. I'll add that in as well. You know what, I think I should ink him in. I'll scan him in first and then I will ink him in. Because it seems a bit silly to do half and not quite finish it. Oh, I'm really liking how this guy is coming out. He's coming out really nice. Oh, just to let you know, the last part of the Joker video is coming out very soon. It's going to be released on premiere on the 21st. So, you know, you can do feel free to join me on the 21st. Again, you can join in the chat and things like that. Should be fun. And I'm currently also working on another video. It's another picture I did a while back, last year. It's actually a Star Wars related piece. It's not an official Star Wars character. It's just related, and but on the video I'll explain. You know, it will be explained on the video. And maybe near the time I'll explain a bit more about it. But definitely look out for that. But next, I think it's next Monday, 21st next Monday. Not not this coming Monday, but the Monday after. So it's coming out in about in the fortnight's time. So keep your eyes up. Oh, well, a week on Monday. A week on Monday. Coming out a week on Monday. So do keep your eyes peeled for that one. And I will, so it'll probably be it'll be Monday evening UK time, round about 8 o'clock. So it should be enough time for people to get home, have your dinner, and enjoy. All things going well. So yeah, that'd be great. So the 21st of January 2019. So if you're watching this in 2020, then obviously the video's already up. So I'm just adding a little bit more of a roundness to the features and a sense of just a little bit of a sense of realism as much as I can. I do feel like this is coming on really, really well. Yeah, so I think what I'll do is once I have had a bit of a break, stretch my legs and things like that, I will come back and I will ink this stuff in. And then you'll be able to see properly what it looks like. But I am very happy with this. I wasn't really sure if it was safe. I wasn't really sure if it was going to come out okay, but it seems to have come out alright. So I'm going to come again. Apologies. It's really fine detail at the minute. Yeah. I'm just putting this on just to indicate that there's been texture on the chair. Whether I'll do that on the actual inking in stage, I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. This character is so different than the original, but personally I think it's so much better as well. There's the stripe that I mentioned before. Stick it in there. Now I believe in my other picked police character, I had intended to put the stripe only on one leg, not on both. And there's that band on his leg again that I mentioned earlier. Other hand in there. Sorry. Still struggling with this cough that I had over Christmas, so it hasn't fully healed yet. Little circles in. I'm trying to keep in mind as well, is with these circles and stuff like that, is where your eyes are going to be. Because even though it's not a 3D drawing as such, in the sense that you're purposefully using perspective, perspective will still always matter at the end of the day. You've got to remember that. Because you still see things at different angles. It's something, and I say you remember that because it's something when I do pictures, even though I know about perspective, I only tend to focus on perspective when I'm doing a picture where there's lots of, what do you call that? If I'm drawing like a street scene or whatever, there's buildings. But for doing perspective in 3D, you have to do it in everything. You have to remember every picture is going to have to, the angle of everything will depend on which direction you're looking at a particular character in. So it's important to always remember you've got to be mindful always of 3D space. And it's something I've learned and relearning again, and it's a constant reminder that you need to always keep do that whenever I do these any drawing. If you're looking for one angle, what one angle shows on a piece, like for example the muscles I'm doing now, will show one shape from one angle, but from a different angle it'll show a completely different shape. It looks squashed for one thing. You have to keep these sort of things in mind. Which is a good point right now, because this crotch area, I just realised the angle's wrong. Because we're looking down at it, it's going to be, the whole thing is going to be face down. And I was doing it slightly differently. So I'm just going to change that somewhat. But again, because this is the pencil stage, I've still got that time to fix it. Once I ink it in, that's it. I'm committed. So whatever way I look at it, it's going to have to be that way. Now, the reason I'm doing this way, when I'm going one side first, is so that I can ensure that the whole lines are in, that the angles of the lines are in the right place, or as best I can anyway. Okay. This will be, eventually this will be a speed art video. that is going to happen at some stage. But it'll only be a video once it's finished. What I'll probably do is I'll do each stage separately, and then I'll have different segments like with the previous version. If you do want to see the previous situations, if you go into my my videos page, you'll see the mix and match from the original version. Again, once this stream is over, I'll put the original piece up. I'll put the image of the original piece on this video, so you will see that anyway. But yeah, you'll be able to, if you go back onto that, you'll be able to see what the original version of this actually looks like. And in theory, you should hopefully get an idea of what this one's going to look like once it's done. All right. Okay, so I'm trying to get the angle right. So this is what it, in fact, let's recap. So this was the original version. This was the original one that I did in 2016, so 2 years ago. Again, like the piece, like the face, everything else. And this has now turned into this one. Far more meaner looking policeman, more aggressive. And the feet, the knees, the legs do look like they're actually sitting forward. In fact, so much so, I reckon, if I just do that little additional bit on there, yeah, it looks like it, whoops, sorry, I'm trying. The camera on my left is a bit angled, so it does make it tricky. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. So I'm going to take a 5 minute, break. Actually, before you, thanks for joining. Unmute. Why have I got mute? Have I got mute on? Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. So I've muted you. Yeah. In case you for the person that's just joined, if you've just joined, I've basically been reworking on some mix and match pieces I did for the draw Jazza, and this is the one I did in 2016, and I really wanted to make it better because it looks all squashed and everything else, and all not really working for me. So basically, I've redrawn him to this level this evening. Sorry, I get the camera right. So this is where I've got him to this point today. So I'm going to take a quick 5 minute break, and then what we'll do is we're going to come back and ink him in, so you can see really clearly what he looks like. So I'm going to take that break. I'm going to get my little my break card. And I'll even leave this one out so you can sort of see it. So I will be back, so stick around. If you do like what you've seen, please feel free to tick the subscribe button and tick the little bell as well, ring that bell for more videos, and this will be turned into a speed up video shortly. So in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll put this here, it's a bit more clearer, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. So I'm back in about 5 minutes. Sorry. Just having some munchies. Right, okay. So we are back. I'm going to ink this guy in. So I'm going to get my specialist pens. There's a shop that I go to quite regularly, and they're a really good bargain. You buy, I think, 4 for a tenner. It's not a bad deal, actually. So inking pens can be quite expensive. So to get 4 for a tenner is actually quite a, quite reasonable. reasonable. Excuse me. Okay, so let's find the first size. So I'm just going to make some room for myself. One thing I need to sort out is having a better setup. So that this task like this will be a lot easier. Right. Now I've got 2 #1 pens. One still works, but the nib is so worn that you can barely get anything out of it, which is great for really fine detail, but useless for actually just generally inking in. And then there's this one, which is still okay. Right, so let's start with the #1. Let's move this paper out of the way so it's not infecting my workspace. And let's go for it. Okay, so here we go. This is both the most fun part and the most frustrating, especially if you miss your mark. Excuse me. I'm glad when this cough will finally go. Oh, that's a very mean looking eye. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh, I think I messed up the other eye. Salvaged. The eyebrows looking wicked. Well, not eyebrows, he's eyes, because he doesn't actually have eyebrows. He's an alien. You might wonder why I'm jumping from one end to the other. It's when you're linking the 2 levels, it's not always easy to go in one big stroke. I know you're supposed to, but it's not always easy to do that. And for me, my experience, my skills level, or skill level, I should say, I find it easier to, better to sort of jump from one to the other. It works better for me. It's all down to practice at the end of the day. So far so good. Hopefully it will carry on. Now I know, oops, slightly off there. I know one artist, and I get what they're saying actually. I totally hear what they're saying. And it's all down to your personal preference. But they were saying that when they ink in, and I'm talking about them, not me, and when they ink in, they feel that the inking in part takes away from the sketchy part, which I do agree with. There is a certain level of what's the word? You do lose a little bit of the character, but I don't think you necessarily lose everything. You can. I also believe you can actually enhance it as well when you ink it in, but it all depends on how you do it. Because I find when I ink in, sometimes I even change the way it looks, because as I'm inking it in, I'm seeing not a mistake exactly, but I'm seeing it's not either not quite in the right place, or it would look better if I just tweak it slightly in this angle or that angle. The arm muscle might look a bit better here or there. The curves are always the trickiest part. And I know, as I said, most professional artists will say that if you're going to do an inking in stroke or whatever, just be bold and go for it. And to be fair, I have tried it. I have given that a try, but I've found, for me personally, I'm more likely to make a mistake doing it that way. But that said, I feel like I've learned how to do this without having to go down that route. You know? I feel like it depends on two factors. One, confidence. If you're confident you can do a straight line and always hit that line, then brilliant. But if you're like me and you're not always confident with that, don't. Don't ruin your picture for the sake of just trying to, well, that's what you're supposed to do. You do what works for you and what helps you to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And for me personally, I find that doing it the way you're seeing me do right now, for me works because I'm hitting the lines every time. Well, not every time, but most of the time I'm hitting the lines. There's a few occasions when I'm not quite getting it. But there's no jaggedness. I think, right, just to clarify what I mean by that is when you do, this sort of staccato where you're stopping and starting, you can get a jaggy edge. And I totally agree, and that's where they're coming from with that. But I think if you're careful enough and you take your time with it, you won't necessarily get a jagged edge. You know? I mean, while I can see there's one or two on this one, it's not that many so far. That said, it takes me a lot of practice to get it to that level. And even like here, where I'm going all the way down, I wouldn't normally draw that smooth. I would normally just carry on drawing little bits and pieces. Right, now see like what I said about earlier about what's it called? What's one of people? The 3D element. This badge will be more at an angle because of where we're looking. So I'm trying to incorporate that as I ink it in. But it's little things like that doing inking in, which you don't always think about doing when you're penciling. I'll say with this guy, character doesn't feel as big as the other guy did, but he's definitely more muscly. I think that goes without saying. I want to try and change this badge a little bit, just to give it a bit more of a difference than the main police badge. Oh, that's better. Feels a bit more solid and different. Funny, this character, because I don't think I've ever really drawn something like this before in this particular fashion, this particular style, should we say. But it is a show that, you know, if you practice something enough, you can improve. You know, so if you are someone out there that's artist and say to yourself, well, I can't draw, maybe not now, but you apply yourself and you practice, you draw every day. And when I say draw every day, you actually try to draw something new. You know, you really push yourself to learn some, you know, new thing. So make an observation of what of your surroundings or whatever it is you're trying to draw. And you just try and do an improved version from what you've previously done. You will get that. You will actually learn something. You will actually become, well, whether you become an artist, that's really down to your own personal passion, really. Because we're all artists to some, you know, we've all got some level of artistic ability within us. What that is, that's really, you know, that's down to your personal preference. Because I don't like every single style of art that's out there. There are some pieces that are not my cup of tea, and I don't see them in the same light as the person who designed them. But you can at least get to a point where you can learn how to draw and to draw well. You know, you can actually learn the skill and pick them up. You know, some years ago I taught the guy who has no sense of rhythm whatsoever. I taught him a dance routine and he did it to perfection. Got all the steps dead on right. He still can't dance for toffee. But, and I know that because I saw him afterwards, and he hadn't really, you know, pursued it further. But he learnt a routine, and he was able to do it well. So anyone can learn a skill. The only thing that differentiates you from somebody who is an artist, whether that person sings, dances, whatever, is only their passion. I will never be a football player. I have no passion for football. I have no desire for football. I could probably get, if I really apply myself, I can probably learn the skills that some of these football players do, but I will never fully become, one of the word, talented in football, because I have no desire or passion to be a football player or to even kick a ball around. It doesn't appeal to me at all. It just doesn't. And it's only that, as I said, it's only that separates someone who's artistic, like drawing wise, from somebody that isn't. But even someone that isn't doesn't mean you can't be artistic, if that makes sense. And it might even be that you're artistic in a different way. You may not be able to draw, but you might be able to paint. You might not be able to paint, but you might be able to sculpt. Really depends. It really depends on what you're passionate about. Here as I'm doing this, even though the hands are bigger than they are in the original piece, I'm just realising I need to just change the shape slightly to make them fit. Now that's not electronic music, so why is that playing? One thing I'm going to say about inking in, it's a good thing. I like inking in. I like the process of it sometimes, not always. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for it. But I like the way when you do this, how much it brings the piece a bit more, gives a bit more life to it. In the sense that it's clearer, it's easy to read, and I can add add detail in it that I hadn't considered when I was penciling it in. So the process can be a bit laborious as well, especially if you're not in the mood for it. Because there have been times that I'm inking in and I'm just not in the mood for it, and those are the times I need to stop, because if I carry on, what ends up happening is, because I'm not focused on it and I'm not into it, I end up not making more errors and mistakes with it. But I always like it when it is in, when I do finish it. But the good thing is I'm getting a little quicker at doing this, because this is, is a labour of love, and you do need to love it, because if you don't love it, you're not really going to put your energy into it, like I said. But like with anything, it can have its tedious moments. And there are, as I said, there are some days that I'm inking in, and I'm just not feeling it. I'm not there. There's a sense of laziness that kicks in, and I don't pay as much attention. But when I'm into it, when I'm really into the inking stage and really have no issues with it, like I am right now, I can really, do a good job. And even if I do miss, do make a mistake, it's not as much of an issue as it is if I'm not concentrating or not focused. So when I'm not into it, I'm not focused with it, that's when I tend to be a little bit more annoyed at myself when I bodge it. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. But this is one of the rare occasions when I have to draw the line straight. I don't normally do that, because that's when I tend to make the most mistakes drawing lines. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so once this is over, I'm going to get back to the last part of Arrow, and then after that, well, maybe not today, but I've also got Supergirl Season 1, which I've not seen, but I need to watch that at some point. That's unless one of the guys won the game, because there's been a guy that wanted to play Rec Royale for a while, and I haven't been able to, for lots of different reasons. I keep missing them online, and I feel bad because I don't want to, I don't like making promises and then not being able to fulfill them. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. But I think the first time I tried to join them, they weren't online, so obviously I couldn't do anything there because they weren't there. And then other times they've been online, I've not, or I've been on something else at the time. So if they are online, I'll probably be doing that. Okay. Right, so we're almost finishing it in. Right, I think rather than starting a new project, I think after I've done him, I'll probably call it a day. I could start the other project, the next one, but we're going for quite a bit now. I think it's probably best to call it after this. But at least I know that we've got the second character down, which is a good thing. Which means that, basically, sorry, I'm just starting not focusing as much. Basically means that we're closer to repainting it digitally. Now, the thing is, when it's a stream digital painting, unfortunately, as I say, because of OBS not seeming to handle or my PC not being able to handle OBS or one way or the other. But I will, again, I will put that into, what's the word I'm looking for? I will put that into a speed up video once the time comes up. Okay. Get on to the final stage, which is just the chair. Okay. Almost finished this little bit. And this is only inking in stage 1. Because what I need to then do is do what's called line weight. I'll make certain things stick out more, or not stick out more, stand out more than other lines. All right. Okay, so that's that bit. Quick, more coffee before it goes cold. My latte chocolate caramel. Okay, now on this occasion, when I can find it, I'm going to jump straight into my volume 8. Where's volume 8? Oh, and this is to help me sort of ascertain what the other levels are going to be. I think it goes without saying that the head needs to be volume 8. What this does is it really brings image to the front. And keep cat with the front part. The good thing about volume 8 is, or any of the other volumes, is when you, if you do make a mistake, the thicker volumes can hide some of those little mishaps that you have. Not always, but sometimes. But it all kind of depends on how you ink it in. I feel like this side's not quite thick enough. I mean, hopefully you can see already that the head is already standing out already. Look at the legs. Again, this is adds to that sense of foreshortening. Because we're right in front of the camera, so to speak. But I won't do that one for 8. I'll leave that one as 5, I think. As you do this more and more, though, you do learn how to affect. I use the term mistakes loosely. They're not really mistakes. They're just you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Your body works in certain ways, and you know, your heartbeat can sometimes, where your heart works, your heartbeat can affect how you draw a straight line. If your heart's racing, you might have a bit more of a wobbly line. In fact, the best way to describe it, if you ever played, I don't know if you've ever played any of the Wii games or whatever, or any of those games where you have to use a wireless controller, you'll notice that when you're trying to aim at something, your hand goes all, the pointer goes all over the shot. And that's because you're using because of your natural body rhythm, so to speak. I don't know all the technical aspects of it. I don't know, I can't give you any medical advice on it. But as I said, because of the way your hands, your body works, sometimes your hand can shake. And that can happen with your drawing as well. So it does take a bit of practice to be steady with your hands, but it's not impossible. Now normally on this I'd do a 5, but I'm going to jump to a 4, because I don't want things to stand out too much. Then it loses that sense of depth. Obviously, the volume rate has got to really stand out more than all the other levels. Oh, rats. Missed it. That's going to get covered in black and white. So it's just certain bits you've got to emphasise a little bit. So that the viewer's eye is drawn to those aspects. Like the top of the eye can definitely be thick, but the bottom can stay where it is. You see what difference it makes? It just adds a bit of strength. And the controller can be a 5 or a 4 as well. But note I'm not doing all the individual lines, I'm keeping those as number 1. If it's all the same thickness, it loses a sense of depth. You really want to keep that in there. So these little things here, I'm going to make them 4, so they stand out, but not too much. What's going on there? YouTube has slowed down for some reason. Okay. That's that one. Right, going to be wrapping up fairly soon. So this is the volume 2. So I want to leave the seat as volume 1 because it's more in the distance. Right, I think we're almost done, guys. If I leave the body part of them 2, and so normally we'll go for number 3. I think I want to keep it fairly tame in terms of how much level of inkling goes into it. And I think we're almost there. Alright, so just leaves one last thing to do on this one. Is to sign it, which is the most important thing to do. And we'll use number 3 for this one. And today is the 12th of the 1st, 19. Okay, so just to recap, we put these other images somewhere. So so using previous so again, this is for those who have just joined. If you just joined, I've been reworking on the Jazza piece, the 2016 competition. I entered it in back in the day, but my skill level wasn't at the level to really compete against some of the amazing pictures that were there. I do recommend checking those out if you ever get a chance, both on his site in the video and also on Newgrounds, where you'll see my original piece on Newgrounds as well. And this was the original pilot character for one of the police interceptors that were chasing the main villain, which is, go and find him again. Sorry, just find the right one, which is this chap. Now I've redrawn him as well today, recently. I'll just get this. Move this that way, which is this guy here. So my camera's moved. Let's get his camera back. There we go. So yeah, so this was the character, and the pilot was to go into one of these ships. So this character sits inside one of these, chasing after this dude. So this was the original, and then tonight, using this as reference for the uniform and uniform, everything else, this is one we've come up with. So it's radically different than the previous one, but in terms of posture, positioning, aggressiveness, I'm so much happier with this one. I thought this one's definitely going to make an impact, and he's going to look really good inside the ship going forwards. So these will all be put into the new version of my mix and match picture. And my one is called the Green Jackal. And just to show you, this is the new version of this guy. This is what I worked on last week. And the other one I worked on last week was that policeman. But let me find the original policeman. This was the original policeman I did last week. And this is the new version of the policeman. So it's been a fun adventure, and I do thank everybody for coming along. This video will be kept on YouTube, so for whoever watches if you want to. If you do like this artwork and you want to see more of this basically taking an old picture and revamping it like I have done today. And let's go back to this one because this is the one we did today. If you do want to see more of this, please do subscribe so you get to informed of any new videos. And if you tick the bell as well, if you ring the bell, that will give you a warning to say that either I'm live or I've got a new image out. But let me move that the other way around actually. But yeah, and I'll be doing a speed up video of each of these characters as well. So you'll have line work, and once the colour's all done, you'll have all those as well. So thanks again for watching. I do appreciate you taking the time to enjoy, to watch the process of this. There is a part 1, so if you haven't seen part 1, do go into that, and I will put a link on the end of this video once it's all processed on YouTube. So you will be able to go back to the original, and I'll also put a link into the original entry piece back in 2016, with all the links to where the competition pieces are as well. So thanks again for watching. I do appreciate your time. Have a lovely day, and until the next time I'm online, I will be seeing you. Bye-bye.